Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? TGIF, thank God that it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday, however you want to say it. Number positive vibes to everybody. Peace and much love to everybody on this Friday. Of course, I'm in a great mood coming off a Lakers victory last night with the great LeBron James leading this team to victory. And I know a lot of people, all the haters, are already saying, it's just Charlotte, it's just Charlotte. Well, I wanted y'all haters to keep that same energy when you were saying, oh, look how pathetic the Lakers are without Anthony Davis. LeBron James could not do it without Anthony Davis. But all of y'all smooth brain people wasn't realizing that Schroeder was out, Gasol was out. They were missing other key components of the game. And now that they have Jones, even when Gasol was out, Jones wasn't ready yet. He had just signed a contract, and they were starting Montrezl at center. And we all know he doesn't have the size to compete with other centers in the league because he is truly a power forward. So for all your smooth brain hating people, just note that what are the Lakers now at the All-Star break? Undefeated! They undefeated at the All-Star break. They have not lost a game, and I don't foresee them losing a game. And I predicted every single one of these games, and I'm telling you what else I'm going to predict come Sunday night when they take on the Phoenix Suns. Another victory. And then you're going to see the greatness of a LeBron James and the way he put his stamp on his game. And last night was just another way that he did that. So what he has been doing the past few games is building up his teammates' confidence by feeding them the rock, feeding them the rock, feeding them the rock. So now that he got 3 games under his belt of feeding them the rock, he knew what time it was. And I said in the video last night that he may or may not want to introduce LeMelo Ball to his greatness. And I could tell LeBron was playing with just a little bit of a tiny chip on his shoulder when he came out, because he started the first quarter, he was 6 out of 7. I mean, in the first half, he already had 22 points and was shooting like 80%. So he was really looking to score last night. And I want to say he only had like one assist in the first half because he was just looking to score. And there's nothing wrong with that, because when you go off and start scoring like that, then teammates usually follow suit. And, you know, I'm sure all of y'all saw what LeBron James did last night when he dropped them 37, 8, and 6. It wasn't a triple dub, but it was 37 points, which is only strengthening his MVP case by him at 36 years old, still being able to drop that many points. He dropped 36 and dropping 37 points and just doing it effortlessly. And some of the shots he took, he didn't even really have to take. They really went against his percentages and his three-point percentages, because some, you know, shots they got, you know, late in the shot clock when it wasn't much time left, some forced shots and things of that nature. On one play, he was even fouled on the three-point shot, and he made the shot, and they didn't even call it. But that's typical. That's typical the way the referees referee LeBron James. But at the end of the day, you know, the Lakers are going out and proving what they really are capable of doing. And I think right now that they are still probably the best team in the league. And Anthony Davis was on the sideline. He didn't look like he was limping or doing anything. He actually looked like he was walking around effortlessly. Don't know if he had on a boot or what else he had on, but it didn't look like he was just limping around or anything like that. Like he was having a real good time. One thing I did notice at one point on the sideline with Anthony Davis was the Lakers had moved the ball tremendously on one offensive possession. I mean, they must have passed it 10 times in one possession. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. They swung it into the paint. They kicked it back out. LeBron penetrated. They kicked it back out. He got back out to the three-point line. They swung it all the way around the horn, swung it around the top of the key, made the extra pass. The defense kept collapsing. The Hornets kept running the shooter off the three-point line, so they kept making an extra pass. And finally, they made that extra pass to yeah, you guessed it, Wesley Matthews. So LeBron, who could have took the shot from the corner, decided, let me make this extra pass since they running off on me, trying to run me off the three-point line, and let me pass it to my even more wide open teammate, Wes Matthews, who used to be capable of knocking down a three. And when I tell you Wes Matthews threw up the worst shot I've ever seen in my life, I mean, that joint was not only an air ball, it didn't hit the backboard, it didn't hit the rim, it barely, I want to say it went to the side of the backboard. Like, it went out of bounds over there somewhere. It reminded me of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't know if y'all ever saw the old episode. If you get a chance, look it up when Will was on the team with Carlton, and Carlton got jealous and stole the ball from Will, who was on his team, because he was getting all the clout. So he stole the ball from him and just threw it up, and you think it's going in slow motion, and you just looking, and you looking, and you looking, and you looking, and that thing flew way over the backboard over there somewhere. And that's what Wes Matthews did last night. And I was like, what in the hell? So then Wesley Matthews, after that, he got back on defense, right? So when he got back on defense, he made a hell of a defensive play. And I'm not sure who it was, if it was Hayward or can't remember the player, but they were running back down the court, and it wasn't really a fast break, but they were just trying to get out after the air ball. You know how they try to push it real quick because some of the players hadn't recovered yet, so they was trying to push it back up the court, and Wesley Matthews literally just grabbed the ball from him and just snatched it out of his hand while he was coming right to the hoop. But I mean, it was a hell of a play, and he fell down while he was doing it, but still able to pass it back up. And when he passes it back up, he gets it to Kuzma, and LeBron is running behind Kuzma, and I mean, Kuzma probably could have laid it in, and LeMelo Ball is right there chasing Kuzma like he's gonna get the block, and instead of Kuzma going up for it, I mean, he made a beautiful pass to LeBron up behind him, and LeBron came up and with the two-hand double slam and dunked it so hard that his head was up by the rim. And I said, oh man, that put the Lakers up by 15 or 16, and I said, uh-oh, here comes the blowout. Because Charlotte had just got blown out by Denver the night before. They on the second night of a back-to-back. So I really didn't think they would have the energy. But I tell you what, those young boys, they got stamina and they got youth on their side. So they didn't go out like Willie Lump Lump. They hung in there. So they was down by like 15. And then LeBron hit a nice shot, you know, just to end the quarter. And the thing is, LeBron was getting to the rim anytime at will last night. He was getting to the rim anytime at will. He probably could have had 50 if he really wanted to. So he just went to the hole and made that shot with no time left to end the second half. The Lakers was up by like 15 or 17. You thinking, oh, this is over. But much to Charlotte's credit, I don't know what they said at halftime. Maybe, and usually in the third quarter, team that's losing, if you don't know this, get online and bet online, and you'll see, especially during live betting, that team that's down usually wins that third quarter. I made some good money like that. And I probably should have had last night, but I was too busy doing some other things. But I couldn't believe that Charlotte came out on like a 9 or 10-0 run and eventually took the lead by like a point during that third quarter. And I said, oh man, here go the Lakers with this BS. And to his credit, I got to give credit to LeMelo Ball. The boy was hooping in the second half. In the first half, he only had 5 or 6 points. So, of course, the internet was going crazy because LeMelo, you know, supposedly talked that jazz or whatever, however you want to see it. I don't really look at it like that. I just feel like, you know, LeMelo didn't grow up, you know, playing basketball or idolizing basketball players because, hell, his daddy was in the NBA. He'd been around that lifestyle his whole life. He'd been driving Bugattis and Ferraris and Lamborghinis since he was 16 years old. So how can you impress a young man that's 19 or 20 years old who's been to China and traveled all over the world and balled out and did everything else? So I don't really think it was a disrespect to LeBron James, but I think LeBron James still used it as motivation because a lot of times NBA players will take something, anything, and just use that to motivate them. And I think that's what LeBron James did. He used that as motivation because he came out on fire. That man came out on fire, do you understand me? And the rest of the teammates follow suit. But I just want to get back to the point of the third quarter, how Charlotte came out and LeMelo Ball really, and Rozier was having a great game and really brought them all the way back. But then I noticed that Frank Vogel actually is getting his coaching act together a little bit because there was a lineup, during the late second quarter that he went with. It was a smaller lineup to combat the smaller lineup that Charlotte was going with, where they just didn't really have the true center. So he pulled Jones out, and I want to say the lineup that he had, it was THT, who had a hell of a game, by the way. THT, I think the Lakers need to do whatever they can to keep a hold to him. And everybody that's panicking, I'm just saying, don't panic. The more experience that THT get, the better he's gonna be. Like, you don't have to go out, oh, I need a shooter. He's capable of hitting threes, but the best thing about it is he's capable of creating his own shot and getting to the hole and also getting others involved. So the lineup that they put in was THT, Caruso, Montrezl Harrell, LeBron James, and surprisingly, Wes Matthews. And you keep wondering, why does Wes Matthews keep getting all this playing time when he's not hitting a shot? It's because how great he is on defense. He made so many spectacular defensive plays yesterday as far as getting the strip, tying up people for the jump ball, getting in passing lane, making deflections, anything that was going to lead. They were going to peel out to a fast break shot. He would deflect the ball out of bounds, stop the fast break, make them have to set up the half-court offense. He was very valuable on the defensive end of the floor last night. And when they put in that lineup of those 5 players is when the Lakers really went ham. And so he went back to that lineup once they got down by 1 point. And when he went back to that lineup, there it was. The Lakers was back up 8 or 9. And of course, every time LeBron James went to the bench, they would start, cutting into the lead. The Lakers had got it back up to 12 or 13, and they cut it back down to 8 or 9 or whatever, or 6 or 7, and then LeBron would come back in and regulate and handle business once again. But that lineup I thought was pretty interesting because it was a hell of a defensive lineup because, LBJ, he was everywhere last night too. So people stop saying that he's not a DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year candidate, because LeBron James was everywhere last night. On one play, he ran two people off the three-point line. He ran to somebody, and instead of them shooting, they passed it over. Then he ran that person to the next man over. I was like, who was on this man? If LeBron covering both of them? I mean, he was everywhere on the defensive floor last night. One call was a goaltending that wasn't even a goaltending. It really should have been a block when he got up and slapped somebody's stuff off before it hit the backboard. Then on the next play, he came down and blasted somebody's ball that was it was way up. It wasn't on the way down yet. So he did his thing and did that block. So, LeBron was pretty much everywhere. And I think that lineup with Wesley Matthews, THT, Caruso, LeBron, and Montrezl Harrell was an excellent lineup. And for some reason, Montrezl Harrell missed so many bunnies last night. The other night, he shot down near 90%. But last night, I don't know what it was. He was missing all kind of bunnies. He was down on the self, and he was missing free throws. Not sure what was going on there, but everybody has a bad game from time to time. But while he was on the floor, he was taking charges as usual, because that's what the Lakers do. They number 1 in the league in taking charges, and Caruso and Montrez are top 5 in the league in taking charges, and Montrezl Harrell is number 1 in the league in taking charges. So that's what you got to love about the Lakers. They're not afraid to sacrifice their body to stand there and be able to take a charge, because in the NBA, taking a charge is not the easiest thing to do, to stand there and know you're about to absorb the punishment of a player that's coming at you at a pretty high rate of speed. And these players are going to be well over 220 or 30 pounds, so that's not going to feel good. But yet Montrezl Harrell is a pretty big guy, so he really not concerned himself with that. He's just doing whatever he has to do. And I think quietly he is earning the 6th Man of the Year award again. And Schroeder had a nice game last night too, but I know a lot of people don't like to look at the plus minuses. But if you look at that lineup that I said, Wes Matthews, even though he wasn't hitting the 3, even though he did hit 1 3 last night, and I promise you, when he hit that 3, the team know he's struggling, because the whole bench went crazy. Anthony Davis was doing them like this all the way down the court. Everybody was cheering. He was looking so happy that he finally hit him 1 out of 3 for 3. So they know he's been struggling, and they doing whatever they can to bring him up, because Lord forbid if he ever get out this slump that he in with the defense that he playing, and he can go back to Wesley Matthews that we knew back in Portland, then, man, he'll be a force to be reckoned with. But at the end of the day, he is still in that slump. And it was so funny because when he shot that air ball and looked so silly, like I said, the next play he came back down, and the next play he came back down and stole it. And then he's the one who made the beautiful pass up court to Kuzma to allow for that fast break. And while everybody was just celebrating, he was looking so silly. He was looking like a kid that got sent out the cafeteria and was about to get a whooping, that was about to get a paddling. So y'all youngsters don't know about that. Back in my day, we got your ass whooped at school, And then if you got your ass whooped at school, when you got home, you got your ass whooped again if your parents never found out about it, or if the neighbor found out about it. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was back then. But, we won't get into all that, but it was a lot more respect back then. Youth had a lot more respect for grown-ups and stuff like that. You wouldn't dare see what happened to Cam Newton, that little punk running his mouth that day. You wouldn't dare see anything like that. And even with LeMelo, even saying that, he could have said it different. Instead of him saying, nah, he could have said, well, no, I understand. I've been around this my whole life, so it's nothing that's really going to impress me. I just approach the game like this. But LeBron James is a hell of a player. And yes, it will be a great thing to be on the floor with such a great player. Something to that effect. But, say what you want. Do what you want. It's not really a big deal. But getting back to that lineup that I was saying, all of that lineup was all pluses. And if you look at it, even Wes Matthews was like plus 15. Caruso was like plus 13. THC was like plus 16. LeBron James was plus 7. He should have had a lot of higher plus, but, when he come onto the court, he was dealing with some more people that just weren't in the plus. And Schroeder was in the negative, I want to say, which I know everybody doesn't go off plus minuses, but to me, I think it's a telling stat of production while you're on the floor, even though you're dealing with other 4 people that's on the floor too, and you got to take into account what it is that they're doing too. But at the end of the day, it all finds a way of balancing out. But I'm just saying that lineup is kind of funny. When they had that lineup is when they went on that tear, and then when you look at the plus minus of those 5 players, then you see the plus minus, they was all on the double digit side of the plus side. So that to me is a telling sign. And the Lakers are only going to get better. And like I said, defense wins championship, and there's no better defense in the league than the Los Angeles Lakers. And LeBron James is anchoring that defense right now. And I'm just sick and tired of the disrespect. I mean, he's number 1 in the league in defensive rating. He's number 2 in the league in defensive PER. But yet nobody wants to give him props for being the defensive player of the year. Well, if anything, he's still going to be all defense, and he really needs to be first team all defense. He really does need to be that, which I think will be a major accomplishment and just another notch in LeBron James' belt. And if he doesn't get the MVP and somehow the voters do something crazy and give Harden the MVP, then that's going to be even better for LeBron, because that's just show you that KD is not the man everybody want to make him out to be, because he needs another MVP on his team in order to win. They don't even need KD, and they still ripping off victories. But that's a video for another day. But everybody saw what the Lakers are capable of doing and what they're going to be even more capable of doing. So when the line come out against the Phoenix Suns, it's probably already out. I'm going to come back and make another video and just let y'all know what the score is going to be, because I'm telling you right now, the Lakers not going for any kind of BS when it comes to the Phoenix Suns come Sunday night. And they're going to be looking to make that a 5-game winning streak. And by the time Anthony Davis come back and he fully healthy and going to be looking good and feeling good, and Lord forbid the Lakers get another big man like Andre Drummond, then that's over with. That's over with. And if they don't get Andre Drummond, they still good to go. Just hell, sign Damon Jones to contract through the rest of the year. And then even if you want to put Marcus All as the backup center, then that's fine. You just have another big body who got a high IQ, who can spread the floor, who can shoot threes, who might could even play with that second unit better, or let Mark continue to start. Even when he's starting, he only getting 20 minutes. That's fine. Give him his 20 minutes. Give Damon Jones his 20 minutes, and then you still got 8 minutes left over for when you playing your small lineup. There's all kind of different ways the Lakers had to go, but they really about to show that depth. And I'm trying to tell y'all, without Schroeder, that made a big difference when you don't have a real point guard and somebody who can create. So as long as the Lakers had Dennis the Menace and they had Caruso, somebody that's capable of hitting shots, and THT is clicking on all cylinders, think about this. KCP didn't even have a good game last night. He barely even touched the ball, and the few times he did, he was broke. So think about if he gets heated up, how dangerous that the Lakers will be. And that's all because of one LeBron James. So y'all better start putting some respect on his name. And he made sure that he came out last night and let LeMelo know to put some respect on his name. So, like I said, if you look up in the standings right now, quiet as kept, the Lakers are number 2 in the West. So, to me, that makes LeBron James the MVP, because he's navigating through these rough waters without Anthony Davis and keeping his team more than relevant. And number 2 in the West, which is much tougher than the East. And they got the second best record in the league. So, holla if you hear me. This is B New. I'm saying right on to the real, and much love to y'all haters. I'm out.